Avoidants can be some of the most difficult people to understand when it comes to emotions and relationships. They often create confusion because the moment you start getting closer, they may step back. They can send mixed messages, appear distant, and leave you wondering if you are the only person who truly cares. But there is something important to understand. A person's emotional distance does not always mean a lack of feelings. Sometimes, behind that calm and detached exterior, there can be a strong emotional attachment that they struggle to accept. Some avoidants may secretly think about you constantly, feel drawn toward you, and care more than they are willing to admit. They are caught between wanting closeness and fearing the vulnerability that comes with it. If you have ever walked away from someone believing that you meant nothing to them, you might want to look closer at the hidden signs. Because sometimes an avoidant's actions reveal what their words refuse to express. They may be fighting an internal battle where one part of them wants connection, while another part is trying to protect them from emotional risk. Today, we are going to explore 5 subtle but powerful signs that an avoidant may be deeply attached to you, even if they would never openly confess it. These signs often appear through their behavior, their reactions, and the small things they do when they think no one is paying attention. The first sign is that they pay attention to you more than they want you to know. One of the biggest clues is hidden in how closely they observe you. Avoidants may not always communicate their feelings directly, but they are often highly aware of the person they are emotionally connected to. They notice changes in your mood, the way you interact with others, the things you share online, and even small changes in your behavior. However, instead of openly showing interest, they may pretend that they are unaffected. They might act like they are not curious about your life or avoid asking questions because admitting they care feels too exposing. But later, they reveal that they were paying attention all along. You may mention something casually, and weeks later they bring it up in conversation. They remember a small detail that most people would have forgotten. It shows that they were listening even when they appeared distant. Sometimes their actions look contradictory. They may take a long time to reply to your messages, but immediately view your updates. They may seem relaxed around you, but become uncomfortable when someone else starts getting close to you. Their silence does not always mean they feel nothing. Sometimes it is a way of hiding an emotional reaction that feels too intense for them to handle. They may care deeply, but have learned to keep those feelings hidden behind a protective wall. The second sign is that they become noticeably affected when you stop chasing them. Avoidants often feel comfortable when they are the ones controlling the distance. They know how to create space, how to step back, and how to protect themselves from feeling too exposed. But when you begin matching their energy and stop giving them the same attention you always did, something changes. They may start feeling unsettled because the emotional control they relied on is no longer there. They might not openly say they miss you or admit that your absence bothers them. Instead, their reaction may appear in indirect ways. They could become more sensitive, make unnecessary comments, act slightly irritated, or suddenly create reasons to reconnect. Sometimes they become more curious about what you are doing or start finding small ways to appear in your life again. This happens because your emotional withdrawal forces them to confront feelings they were avoiding. Their fear of losing the connection starts becoming stronger than their desire to stay distant. They may not return with dramatic apologies or emotional declarations, but their behavior begins to shift. They start reaching out more, asking subtle questions, or trying to maintain some form of connection without directly admitting why they care. The third sign is that they remember things about you that even you have forgotten. An avoidant may try to convince themselves that the relationship is casual or that they are not emotionally invested, but their memory often reveals the truth. When someone truly does not care, they usually do not store personal details about another person. But when someone is emotionally attached, their mind naturally holds on to meaningful information. They remember the little things that make you unique. They remember your favorite drink, stories from your childhood, something you mentioned wanting to experience, or a small preference you shared months ago. These details may seem insignificant, but they show that your words made an emotional impact. An avoidant might not message you every day or constantly express affection, but they can still carry a mental collection of things that matter to you. Sometimes they reveal this accidentally by mentioning something you never expected them to remember. It is almost as if their feelings are showing through the cracks of the emotional barrier they have built. Their behavior may say they are detached, but their memory proves that you have occupied more space in their mind than they are willing to admit. They often express their feelings in indirect ways because admitting they care can feel too uncomfortable for them. Their actions become a silent message saying, "I notice you, I remember you, and you matter to me," even when they struggle to openly acknowledge those emotions. Avoidants often exist in a constant inner conflict. One side of them wants emotional closeness, while another side tries to control how vulnerable they become. They may try to keep their feelings contained while still holding on to a strong attachment. This creates a confusing push and pull pattern where they are connected to you emotionally, but still afraid of fully stepping into that connection. The fourth sign is that they find ways to stay within your world without actually moving closer. One of the most confusing behaviors from an avoidant who is emotionally attached is their tendency to remain around you without directly approaching you. They may not ask to spend time together, call you, or openly seek your attention, but somehow they continue appearing in your space. They might interact with something connected to you, become more active online when you are around, appear at places where they know you will be, or find small reasons to stay connected without making their intentions obvious. It is almost like they want to experience your presence without taking the emotional risk that comes with real closeness. They stay close enough to feel connected, but far enough away that they can protect themselves from possible rejection or disappointment. This allows them to observe, feel involved, and maintain a sense of connection while still having the ability to deny their feelings. If you question them about it, they may brush it off, act casual, or tell you that it means nothing. They may even make you feel like you are reading too much into it. But when the same pattern happens repeatedly, it is often a sign that something deeper is happening beneath the surface. The fifth and final sign is that they create distance right when the connection starts becoming more meaningful. This is often the most painful and confusing behavior because it can feel like they are rejecting you at the exact moment when things are finally improving. But for some avoidants, deeper intimacy can activate their strongest fears. The more attached they become, the more vulnerable they feel, and that vulnerability can trigger their instinct to protect themselves. Instead of moving closer, they may suddenly create problems, become emotionally unavailable, disappear for a while, or say they need space. This reaction does not always happen because they have stopped caring. Sometimes it happens because their feelings have become too intense for them to comfortably handle. Their mind starts associating emotional closeness with danger. They may fear losing control, becoming dependent, being hurt, or giving someone else the power to affect them deeply. So the very connection they desire can become the thing they try to escape from. Their behavior becomes confusing because their emotions are pulling them in one direction, while their fears are pushing them in another. When an avoidant is deeply attached, their emotional responses can become difficult to understand. The closer they feel to someone, the more their protective instincts may appear. They might convince themselves that creating distance is the safest option, even though a part of them wants the exact opposite. But it is important to understand that pulling away does not automatically mean someone does not care. Sometimes it reveals that they are struggling with emotions they have not learned how to process. However, recognizing their hidden feelings does not mean you should ignore your own needs or accept constant uncertainty. So, what should you do if you believe an avoidant is secretly attached to you? The first thing to remember is that your role is not to fix them or rescue them from their fears. Someone can think about you constantly, miss you deeply, or feel strongly connected to you and still not be emotionally ready to build a healthy relationship. Hidden feelings are not the same as emotional availability. You can be important to someone's heart and still feel lonely because they are unable to show up consistently. Your intuition may be noticing something real. Avoidants can sometimes hide their emotions extremely well, even from themselves. Their feelings may appear through moments of jealousy, frustration, unexpected vulnerability, or sudden changes in behavior. One moment they seem distant and unreachable, and the next moment they are caring and emotionally present. These contradictions can leave you constantly analyzing every action and searching for answers. But remember, it is not your responsibility to endlessly decode someone who refuses to communicate honestly. Even if someone is secretly obsessed with you, that alone is not enough to create a secure relationship. Attraction, attachment, and desire only become meaningful when they are followed by honesty, consistency, and effort. Someone wanting you privately is not the same as someone choosing you openly. A person has to be willing to step beyond their fears and meet you where you are. Without that courage, intense emotions can become nothing more than emotional confusion that drains your energy. If you recognize these patterns in someone you care about, be honest about what you need. Communicate calmly, set clear boundaries, and pay attention to their actions rather than only their hidden feelings. If they continue hiding, creating distance, or keeping you trapped in uncertainty, then choosing your own peace may be the healthiest decision. Love should not feel like you are constantly chasing someone who disappears whenever things become real. You deserve someone who does not only think about you in silence, but someone who can stand beside you and say, "I am here, and I choose this connection." Understanding avoidant patterns can help you recognize what is happening, but clarity and emotional safety should always matter more than guessing. Hidden obsession may feel intense, but real love requires openness, courage, and the willingness to show up. Avoidant behavior can feel confusing because it often comes from a conflict between the desire for connection and the fear of emotional vulnerability. When we talk about someone being avoidant, it does not always mean they do not have feelings. It often refers to a pattern where a person learns to protect themselves by creating emotional distance when situations start feeling too intense, uncertain, or overwhelming. They may value independence, struggle with expressing deeper emotions, or feel uncomfortable when they sense that someone is getting too close. This does not mean every avoidant person behaves the same way, but many of these patterns are connected to how someone learned to handle closeness, trust, and emotional safety. The idea of emotional attachment is important because people can feel connected to someone even when they struggle to show it openly. Attachment is the emotional bond that forms when someone feels a sense of importance, comfort, or familiarity with another person. Sometimes that bond can exist beneath the surface, hidden behind distance or silence. A person may think about someone often, remember details about them, or feel affected by their presence while still avoiding direct expressions of affection. Their internal feelings and external behavior may not always match, which is why understanding emotional patterns requires looking beyond just words. Emotional vulnerability is another key part of this dynamic. Being vulnerable means allowing another person to see your true thoughts, feelings, fears, and needs without trying to hide or protect yourself. For some people, vulnerability feels risky because it requires trust and the possibility of being hurt. An avoidant person may want emotional closeness, but struggle with the uncertainty that comes with opening up. The closer a relationship becomes, the more exposed they may feel, which can cause them to create distance as a way of feeling safe again. The push and pull dynamic describes a situation where someone moves toward connection and then suddenly creates distance. One moment they may seem interested, caring, and emotionally present, and the next moment they may become quiet, distant, or unavailable. This pattern can happen because their desire for closeness and their fear of intimacy are happening at the same time. They are not always intentionally trying to confuse someone. Sometimes they are responding to their own internal conflict. However, for the other person, this pattern can feel exhausting because it creates uncertainty and constant questions about where they stand. Emotional regulation plays a major role in how people handle relationships. It refers to the ability to understand, manage, and express emotions in a healthy way. Someone with strong emotional regulation can experience fear, insecurity, or stress without immediately reacting by shutting down or creating distance. But someone who struggles with emotional regulation may rely on old protective habits, such as avoiding difficult conversations, hiding feelings, or withdrawing when emotions become intense. Their reaction is often less about the other person and more about how they have learned to handle emotional pressure. The term emotional safety refers to feeling secure enough to be yourself without constantly worrying about rejection, judgment, or losing control. In a healthy relationship, emotional safety allows two people to communicate openly, express their needs, and handle disagreements without feeling threatened. For someone with avoidant tendencies, building emotional safety can take time because closeness may feel unfamiliar or uncomfortable. They may need to experience consistency, trust, and respect before they feel comfortable lowering their defenses. Another important concept is emotional availability. Someone can have strong feelings for another person, but still not be emotionally available. Emotional availability means being willing and able to communicate, show up consistently, and participate in a relationship in a healthy way. A person may miss you, care about you, or think about you often, but if they cannot express those feelings or create stability, the connection can still feel painful. Feelings alone are not enough. Healthy relationships also require effort, communication, and emotional presence. Hidden emotions often reveal themselves through small behaviors. A person may not directly say what they feel, but their actions can sometimes show their internal state. Remembering small details, noticing changes in your mood, reacting when you pull away, or finding reasons to stay connected can all be signs that someone is emotionally affected. However, these behaviors should be understood carefully because interest and emotional attachment do not always mean someone is ready for a healthy relationship. The biggest lesson behind these patterns is that understanding someone's feelings is different from carrying the responsibility of changing them. You can recognize why someone behaves a certain way while still respecting your own emotional needs. A connection should not require you to constantly analyze every message, every silence, or every small action to feel secure. Real emotional connection is built when both people are willing to communicate, be honest, and choose each other through consistent actions. Hidden feelings may explain someone's behavior, but genuine love is shown through openness, effort, and the courage to truly be present. The concept of an avoidant attachment style comes from the way some people learn to approach closeness and emotional connection. A person with avoidant tendencies may have developed the belief that relying too much on others can lead to disappointment, rejection, or loss of independence. Because of this, they often create emotional boundaries to protect themselves. These boundaries are not always a sign that they are uncaring. In many cases, they are protective strategies developed over time. An avoidant person may deeply value someone while still feeling uncomfortable with the intensity of emotional closeness. This creates a situation where their feelings and their actions appear to contradict each other. They may want connection but struggle with the emotional risks that come with allowing someone to become important in their life. The term deactivation is often used to describe the process where someone emotionally distances themselves when their attachment system becomes activated. Instead of moving closer when they develop strong feelings, they may reduce their emotional awareness, convince themselves they do not care, or focus on reasons why the connection might not work. This is often a protective response rather than a true reflection of their feelings. Their mind may try to reduce emotional intensity because deep attachment can feel overwhelming. Deactivation can look like becoming less communicative, acting less interested, avoiding serious conversations, or suddenly needing more personal space. From the outside, it may appear like they have lost feelings, but internally, they may be trying to regain a sense of control over emotions that feel too powerful. The attachment system is the emotional mechanism that influences how people seek closeness, comfort, and security with others. When someone feels connected to another person, their attachment system naturally becomes involved. For some people, this creates feelings of comfort and trust. For others, especially those with avoidant patterns, strong attachment can trigger fear and discomfort. They may experience a conflict between wanting emotional connection and wanting to protect their independence. This internal struggle can create confusing behaviors, because their emotional needs and their protective instincts are working against each other. Understanding this system helps explain why someone can care about another person while still acting distant or unavailable. The idea of emotional triggers is also important when understanding relationship patterns. An emotional trigger is something that activates a strong reaction based on a person's past experiences, fears, or beliefs. For an avoidant person, situations like increased emotional demands, serious conversations, or feeling responsible for someone else's happiness may become triggers. These moments can make them feel pressured or trapped, even if the other person's intentions are loving. Their reaction may not always match the situation because they are responding to the emotional meaning they attach to it. Recognizing these triggers can help explain why certain moments create distance when everything seems to be going well. Another important term is fear of intimacy. Intimacy is not only about physical closeness, It is also about emotional openness, trust, and allowing someone to truly know you. A person with a fear of intimacy may desire love but feel uncomfortable when the relationship requires deeper emotional exposure. They may worry about losing themselves, becoming dependent, or being hurt if they allow someone too close. This fear can create a cycle where they seek connection but retreat once the relationship reaches a deeper level. The challenge is that the very thing they want most, emotional closeness, is also the thing that makes them feel the most vulnerable. The idea of self-protection explains many avoidant behaviors. People naturally develop ways to protect themselves from emotional pain. Some people protect themselves by seeking reassurance, while others protect themselves by creating distance. For avoidant individuals, withdrawing, staying independent, or minimizing their emotions can become a way of maintaining control. These behaviors may have helped them feel safe in the past, but they can create difficulties when building healthy relationships. Protection can prevent pain, but it can also prevent genuine connection if it becomes too strong. Emotional inconsistency is another pattern that often appears in confusing relationships. It happens when someone's behavior changes frequently, creating uncertainty for the other person. They may be affectionate one day and distant the next, engaged during certain moments and unavailable during others. This inconsistency can make someone constantly search for explanations and signs of where they stand. It can create a strong emotional attachment because the unpredictable moments of connection feel especially meaningful. However, a healthy relationship requires stability because emotional security comes from knowing that someone's care does not disappear whenever things become difficult. A major part of understanding these patterns is recognizing the difference between attraction and emotional readiness. Someone can feel strongly attracted to you, miss you, or even fear losing you, but that does not automatically mean they are prepared to create a stable relationship. Attraction creates a desire for connection, but emotional readiness determines whether someone can maintain that connection. A person may have deep feelings but still need to work on communication, self-awareness, and emotional responsibility before they can offer a secure partnership. Feelings are powerful, but actions reveal a person's true ability to build something healthy. If this video gave you a better understanding of avoidant behavior and emotional patterns, make sure to support it by liking, sharing, and subscribing for more content about relationships, attachment, and emotional growth. Your support helps us continue creating videos that explore the hidden side of human connections. I would also love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever experienced someone who seemed deeply attached to you but struggled to admit their feelings? Did their actions reveal more than their words ever did? Share your experience because your story might help someone else understand their own situation. Until the next video, remember to protect your peace, value your emotional needs, and never settle for confusion when you deserve clarity. You deserve a connection where you are not only felt in someone's thoughts, but also chosen through their actions. Take care of your heart, and I'll see you in the next one.